K-12 school, a mental and behavioral health clinic, an adult education program, and an enrichment program for after-school and summer activities. AOWL is currently located in Minnetonka, but they'll soon be moving to Golden Valley. Wyayn received her undergraduate degree in occupational therapy from the University of Oklahoma, where she graduated as the outstanding senior in the College of Allied Health. She received a master's degree in organizational management from Concordia University in St. Paul, emphasizing strategic planning for nonprofit organizations. With a career change to education, she received her master's degree in education and her doctorate in educational leadership from Bethel University. Wyayn taught in the Robbinsdale and Osseo school districts for 10 years in the field of physical rehabilitation. She was a director of rehabilitation with Children's Hospitals of Minnesota, developing comprehensive solutions to combine Minneapolis and St. Paul campuses into one system. Prior to Children's Hospital, she was the director of outreach services for Camellia Rose Care Center in Coon Rapids. So please welcome Wyayn Rasmussen. She's going to talk to us about AOWL.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here and to tell you thank you to Gary for inviting me. I love to talk about AOWL, or Academy of Whole Learning. And as I do tell you about that, I remember when I was a little girl and I would do something that my dad thought was unexpected, he would use a phrase, "You're just too big for your britches." And so I tell you that because we are finding ourselves at Academy of Whole Learning too big for our name. We're like too big for our britches. And we are currently we're going through rebranding right now with Yamamoto in Minneapolis. So they're working hand in hand with us, because you'll see as we go on, Academy of Whole Learning doesn't encompass everything that we do. So even though that's what I'm going to talk about, and even though I'm going to say AOWL, in a year, we could be something completely different. So I just want you all to know that. So we started off, and I'll talk to you about this in just a bit, as a school. It was a K through 12 school that has 6 kids in it. We actually started as an offshoot, not part of Growth Academy, but because of Growth Academy. So we owe quite a bit to them. But our purpose is to work with kids that have a disability and help unlock their potential. So just as was said earlier, these are the 4 main programmatic areas we have. So we do have a K through 12 accredited school. We're accredited through the state, through, I didn't name this accrediting association. To me, they weren't very creative, but they are very, very good. Minnesota Non-Public Schools Accrediting Association. They are what they say they are. And then we had a national, 2 different nationally recognized accreditation agencies that we go through. Some of the key things that we're very proud of is that our ratio for kiddos to adults is 4 to 1, and you just don't find that in a lot of places. So I would say our biggest competitor school-wise is the public schools. There are fabulous public schools in the local area, but in my background, when I was teaching in the schools and when I was working in the hospital setting, I felt like kids with autism were underserved in the Twin Cities, holistically underserved. So maybe they could get services here in the schools, or over here in the hospitals, or over here in the community, or over there from a psychotherapist, but there was nobody that was coming around and wrapping themselves around everything. There's some very, very good providers that support kids with autism in the Twin Cities. If you think about St. David's, or you think about Fraser, they're incredible. But there's nobody that's offering the, including K-12 education in all their services except us. And in fact, in the fall of 2019, thankfully, we were smart enough to get out ahead of COVID because we had no idea it was coming. we took a team and we visited 9 different schools around the nation, different teams. I went to 3. Different ones of us went to different schools to bring back best practices from around the nation so that we could have the best, the very best. And one of the surprising things we found while we were out there was we were already one of the best. We just didn't think so. We just knew ourselves so well. We knew where we needed to go and how we needed to improve. We just couldn't imagine that that was the best. But it is one of the best that's out there. But nobody else was providing the K-12 education piece and the holistic services like OT and PT and speech and mental health and behavioral health. If you know of another organization nationally that's doing something like that, let me know. I'd love to find out more about them. We haven't found it yet. We think we're the only ones doing everything. So we started off as a school, and then we started offering therapy services. And then we're going next year into our 2nd year of adult education. And then enrichment was probably our first piece that we began with after school programs in summer. So this summer, 2021, was the first summer where we had more kids in our summer program, not from our school, than we had from our school. So that we wanted that for a long time. So I'll go ahead and answer a question. You might be wondering in your head, how much does it cost to go to your school? It's very expensive. It costs about $32,000 per student. But remember that we are offering all of these services in a bundle to our families. But we are so fortunate that we have generous donors that provide a fairly robust scholarship program. So about 1/3 of our students are on scholarship, and about half of those, so 1/6, are on full scholarship. So we are able to reach every demographic that we are trying to reach right now. In fact, if you know of others that need our services or need to come to our school and they go, I couldn't afford $32,000, come check out our scholarship programs. And I have to give credit to our incredible donor base. We are very fortunate. But I'm gonna, our therapy services, so we have psychotherapy, so it's kind of like where you lay on the couch and talk, only we don't have couches. But we offer those services to the students in the school, to their parents, to their siblings, and then those in the community. And again, our focus tends to be on kids with autism or neurodiversities, related neurodiversities, but not all of them. Sometimes we find that somebody knows somebody and they just need to talk through some of those pieces. One of our clients is a wife of a man with Asperger's, and she needs to talk to a therapist who understands autism to help give her advice, and she is so thrilled. Our adult programming, it's just going into our 2nd year. There's only 10 students in it next year, only because we're limited in this tiny little place that we're at in Minnetonka now. I'll show you where we're located later on in here. We are excited that that's our fastest growing program. And I already talked a little bit. So this is we began as a school, but now we are offering so much more. And I want to get to this next slide to kind of tell you about our history. So back in 2003, it's probably around 2002 to where it started, Groves Academy, and those of you that have been here for a while might remember that it started off as a school for kids with disabilities, any disabilities. In fact, my husband still thinks of Groves as a behavior school. That's just what he calls it. It's what he remembers back in the day. In 2002, 2003, they decided to narrow their focus and become experts on dyslexia and other learning disabilities, which I think is smart. You might as well be the best at what you do. But some families then who didn't have dyslexia or other learning disabilities, they were told they had intellectual disabilities, or they had autism, they were asked to leave and given a year's notice. Well, within that year, they came together and they decided to form their own school. So 6 families came together and formed the whole learning school. They started that, it opened up officially in the fall of 2004. And they located in a St. Louis Park church. So just 6 families. They moved to Plymouth. I'm not sure when that was. I know when they left Plymouth was in 2012, because that's when I started. And they made it through the recession in 2008, which in my mind shows you how necessary the services were, that it made it through that really, really tough time. When I started in 2012, we had 15 students and there were 5 staff. But they asked me when they were hiring, what would you do to grow the school? And not even knowing what Groves had done, I gave the same answer. We can't be experts to every kind of disability, but if we could narrow our focus to an underserved population in the Twin Cities, and I believe that students with autism or related learning differences are underserved, I believe we'll grow. Well, the Board of Trustees took me up on that, hired me. We changed our mission to narrow it and become experts in our field. And we are now at 80 students this year. And we have 55 staff, not all of them in the school. We serve over 500 hours of therapy a week. So it's a growing piece. We moved, so we were 5 years in Plymouth, 5 years in Cedar Manor in St. Louis Park. If you guys remember Cedar Manor, it's off of 169 and Cedar Lake Road. So we were there for 5 years, sharing that big building with 3 other schools. And then St. Louis Park wanted their school building back. So we moved to Minnetonka. And it used to be the Minnetonka Christian Academy. So owned by the Seventh-day Adventist Church right there. So they're our landlords, and we rent from them for 5 years. So we knew we had about 5 years to be able to find where we wanted to move. So we created this rubric. Someone asked me once, why did you pick Golden Valley? So I'll tell you why we chose Golden Valley. First of all, I just love the name. I live in Plymouth myself, but I've always loved Golden Valley. It just sounds so wonderful. But also we wanted to be in the inside the 494, 694 corridor and no further east than 35W. So it was pretty big size in there. The Golden Valley is like smack dab in the middle of that area that we were drawing from primarily. We have families that are driving from Wisconsin. So Baldwin, Wisconsin is our furthest away, but we have kids coming from Prior Lake, from Andover. I think the furthest west right now is Victoria. But we have families coming all over. We have families that have moved from, the furthest away would be India, or wait, Egypt, right? It's Egypt, right, Marie?
I think remember Egypt, yeah.
But they come every year. We have somebody that comes from, we have North Dakota, we have Iowa, we have Florida, Ohio,
Brooklyn, New
York, California, all over the place to come to our school. Because again, there's nothing like the service that we are offering anywhere. So about 15% of our student population in the school is people that have moved from out of state. Let me see. So anyways, when we were looking for a place, we looked at over 50 places over the course of 3 years. And then a place became available in Golden Valley. We jumped at it. There's a map in here in just a little bit. But what we found is the parents look for our services for their kids, for our school in particular, for 3 main reasons. One is they believe that their kids can be more successful in academics than they are. Or 2, that they don't have any friends. They just don't have any friends. Or 3, they're being bullied and it's not a safe place. So one of those 3 reasons is the primary driver for most of the parents to find our school. So we find that these kiddos who were isolated are now able to be in a safe environment. They can make incredible advancements almost right away. So I told you a lot of them don't have friends at all. We do our sports program through Special Olympics, and we are the state champions. They didn't have a Special Olympics last year, but back when they were, we are the holding champions. Who knew we could say that for 2 years in flag football and in basketball. So we hold those state championships at our school. We're so excited about it. We also play floor hockey and we bowl and track and field. So those are the sports that we're participating in at this time. So this is an interesting thing. About 80% of young adults with autism are unemployed. No matter the level of autism that they have, it's still the majority of adults with autism are either homeless, living in their parents' basement, or just not being successsul. So this young man is one that came to our school, and he's working now. He actually just graduated from Hennepin Technical College and is he's certified in small motors. So if you need your lawnmower or your snowblower repaired, that's what he specializes in. So how do we do all of this? It's really because we have a spectrum of kids on the spectrum. Some of our kids have IQs, and this is not an exaggeration, of 140 and above. Well, some of our kids have IQs hovering around 70. But the key thing that's so cool is that the students don't seem to care about that. They don't seem to notice it. They're just like they found their people. They found somebody who accepts them, and that's what's so great. For our kiddos that take the ACT, and now this last year, the ACT wasn't offered in a lot of schools, said you don't need it anymore. But back when it was being offered and it was being taken at our school, our average ACT score was 32. So not all of our students take the ACT. Some of them are not going to go to college at all. So I don't want to imply that our whole school is that way. But of the students who took it, 32 was our average. So we are working with some kids with high potential. We even have one of our graduates who's on a full four-year scholarship, 100% four-year scholarship at Morris. And I'm looking forward to see what that person does in their future. But why does the Twin Cities, truly I would say the nation, why is Academy of Full Learning needed? In Minnesota, 1 in 42 children has autism. We are one of the highest states, highest incidence in the nation. And I don't believe it's because Minnesota has the highest, it's because we offer so many fabulous services that people from around the country tend to come to Minnesota. So I believe that's why, but that's one of the reasons. But still, the average around the nation is 1 in 56. 1 in 5 Minnesotans, so even sitting in this room, very likely will face a mental illness each year. And so when you overlap the needs of those with autism and those with mental health, there's hardly anybody stepping into that space. And so we have chosen to step into that space. I told you 80%, it's actually 85% of adults are unemployed. Every single one of our graduates in the last 2 years is employed right now. Every single one of them. That's, granted, it's not like we have 8 kids in a graduating class. That's 16, and you think of 85% of those that wouldn't be employed typically. For any child with any disability, the graduation rate is about 20% lower. So we have not had a student since I've been there, the 9 years that I've been there, that hasn't reached graduation and graduated well. So this is a family that talked at our most recent fundraiser. And so I'll just read, you can read it, but I'll read it too. This mom says, by December of 6th grade, he was put in a special education resource room. Here he spent 4 hours a day in a windowless room away from all but a few other students. He was in crisis. Our family was in crisis. We couldn't find a solution. We were worried for our son. We were worried for our family. To this, now he's a thriving young man who now has friends. He's accepted for who he is. He's an artist and a unique kiddo who just wants to be hugged. Our family can now embrace and look forward to his future. I would say one of the most exciting things for me each year is just hearing from the parents who now they get to be just a regular mom or a regular dad. They don't have to be on top of what's happening in the school all the time. But we needed a space. We were renting all along. So we knew, and thankfully, we're a nonprofit, so we have a board of trustees, and thankfully they came alongside of us and said, we're gonna help you find that space. And what that means when you're on a board of trustees of a nonprofit is we're not only gonna put our feet to the ground to help you physically find that space, we're gonna have to get out and touch our network to bring in the dollars to help you find that space. So we found this wonderful building. It was called MGK Insecticides. So it's off of Boone Avenue, right behind, Julie, right behind your Culver's back there off of 10th. In fact, right now our address is 10th Avenue, but for reasons of construction, we have to change it to Boone. But I think Boone is better because people know where Boone is more. When you say you're in Boone and Golden Valley, if they don't know exactly the cross street, they know Boone. So I actually think that'll work all right. This is kind of the back side of the building. And on this side, we are building a gym. And then we are going to connect the gym to the building with a glass wall. And that glass wall will be our cafeteria. And it overlooks 3 acres, it's a 5-acre lot, but it overlooks 3 acres of green space and old oak trees. And we're going to create outdoor learning spaces on that. And so the students will get to truly see all of the seasons through that. So I'm really excited for them. So this is kind of a map. It's not real clear. This right here is, well, this is Wisconsin. So here right over here would be Julie's spot, right off of 55. Am I right?
Just to the left of Blackboard.
Yeah. Yep. So we're just a little bit further to the north. Again, right now it's 10th Street. It's going to be changing to Boone, and then it's right on that loose line trail. I have ridden my bike a couple of times to get there. So we are fully committed to opening the doors to our clinic, our school, our adult program by September of 2022. So we are really excited about that over the next year. We have to have some deconstruction and our demo, I guess, and then some construction. So all of that starts very soon in the fall. We're meeting with architects and contractors. Our contractor is, we're contracting with Mark Zeman, who's right next door to us. So Zeman Construction, we're so excited to be partnering with them. But here's just a couple of, so when we move, right now we're at 80 students and we are jam-packed in the place that we're at. We move, we'll be able to reach 125 students. That's all we want to be. There's a possibility that someday, if we have more students that need it, we would open up a second campus. But this will be our corporate headquarters right here in Golden Valley. We are offering right now 500 hours a week of therapy. We love our diverse student body and clientele body. And then we hope to grow our program to 30 adults. It's actually the one we think will move off campus first. It's just growing so fast. And truly, these young adults, they don't really want to stay in the same building that they just graduated from. So this is what is on your desk, on your tables. We are having we're welcoming ourselves, throwing ourselves a party. Welcoming ourselves to Golden Valley. We are going to have this is an annual event. However, we didn't really know what to call it because we don't know what to call ourselves yet. We're going through that whole rebranding. So this year it's our Summer Sensory Fest. And it's going to be what we call it, the greatest underwhelming place that you can be. So it's not going to be too loud. It's going to be nice and quiet. We're going to have therapists all over. Every one of our therapists is going to be there, all wearing these yellow shirts. So if you know anybody that is overwhelmed by sensory pieces, please come. But we plan to make this, we hope to make this a Golden Valley event for the future. And this is our first year. I am actually a little worried that it's going to be more successful than we can handle. So, because it's so needed, we have had so many people reserve already online that they're coming. So there is no sensory event like this in all of the Twin Cities, just like there's no organization like ours reaching the whole child, there's also no event like this. So we're excited to bring that event to Golden Valley too. And we're hoping as families come in, we will have a food truck there, but they'll be driven to some of the businesses nearby as well. So, and like Marina, she was telling people earlier, we had, Dave McElroy, right?
Yes.
So he's a country singer. If you listen to he opens for a lot of the top talent. And he offered his services to us a year ago when he heard about us. So I'm really glad that we were able to bring him in for this piece. But also a silent disco, if you don't know, is you wear headphones and then you'll have a choice of 3 different types of music and you control the volume yourself. And then you go to this dance floor and you just dance to the music. And I'm thinking for the first time, I might be able to dance freely because no one will know that I don't know the beat. They'll just think I'm on my own. So I'm kind of excited about that. So that is generally my presentation, but I would love to answer any questions. Yes.
The sensory stuff makes me think about folks who've had a concussion
Mm-hmm.
because that sensory overload. Do you do any work with concussion clinics or anything like that? There seems to be a connection.
Yeah, we do have some clients or students with acquired brain injury. So yes, but that's not our focus. But if they find us, then yes. But it's not a place that we're reaching out to. But anybody can come to the sensory event, and anybody can come to our after-school clubs, and anybody can come to our therapies. So yeah. Any other questions? Cool. Thank you very, very much for inviting me.